Welcome to Stage 8 of Ghost Babel. Power Plant Part 1, where we're going to be doing a big, major skip in this game, along with seeing what kind of RNG we got with the pillars. The start of this stage is really simple for this first floor. We're just going to go across the wall, across this wall, and then summon the elevator. And when you summon the elevator, you should go over here and check this spot and this spot. These are exposed pillar spots. So in the next stage, stage 9, you will have to blow up the power plant by setting C4 at 4 exposed pillar spots. These corners, if they're an exposed pillar spot, would not be a corner. They would be exposed and empty. And you would lay a C4 on that spot on the next stage. Now, it's very important to note that a pillar, this pillar right here, you can't have multiple spots at one pillar. There are multiple possible spots here, so it could be up here, or it could be up here, or not be here at all. But you can't have one here and one here in the same playthrough. There's only one exposed spot per pillar, and we have to blow up 4 exposed spots. So always check this spot. It's a very good spot to get because it's so close to the entrance. As you wait for the elevator, then press the button, equip grenades, and the card. We're going to need both. So this basement has a bunch of electrified water in it, and we have to be careful about that. Right here we have an option to either damage boost through this puddle and then go to the next screen, which is further down, or the slightly faster but kind of harder to execute strategy in a way, but that'll be debatable, as we'll see when we return through this screen, whether it's more difficult or not, is throwing a grenade at this generator. Now, you need to make sure that you throw it directly on the generator. If the grenade explodes just shy of it, it won't actually damage the generator. So when you spawn, you can either do one of these, or you could do one of these, which is pretty spooky since you're like right by the edge of the water. That would shock you. You don't want to do one of these because you're just going to hurt yourself, and that's not smart. So be careful about that if you go for this strategy. However, even though you do waste a grenade this way, the argument can be made that this is the more beginner-friendly strat, and potentially the more faster strat as well. It's just that that grenade being wasted is a factor, as we'll see later on, if we're going for the most efficient route with our grenades possible. But if you do blow up the generator, run along this line right here, just past this generator. Then run over here. This is 5.7 ammo. If you have the 5.7, you can pick up ammo here if you want. Then right here you have a decision to make. If you want a ration, which most of you will, most of us want a ration here, you'll run just to the right of this line. If you don't want a ration, you run just to the left, like around this part, and then you'll damage boost like that. For most people, you should pick up the ration. And then when you enter this next screen, when it goes black, you should hold up left. That way you're already turning in the direction you need to go, and then down left. Snake can crawl diagonally through the vents, as you can see. No big deal. It's very slow, so enjoy the auto-scroller while you can. Now this next screen has a consistent strat and then some non-consistent strats that can be faster. I'll show the consistent strat. Stand up, do a single punch buffer, run by the guy, open this door, go through. But you can also throw a stun there, despawn the guy, and hope his friends don't hurt you. Which, it happened. That's great. That saved us time at the cost of a stun. You could also just try to run, which is even more risky because most of the time that doesn't work. So the most consistent strat is stand up. And the thing is, like, how fast you stand up is actually a factor in your buffer. As you can see, he's at different points of his path depending on when I'm standing up. We want him kind of in that position when we do this buffer. That way he doesn't turn and face us. It's a good thing to be on alert, but the problem is if you get smacked, it's not worth it. Because if you're on alert, this door will already be open. You don't have to wait around to go through. Up here are 2 pillar spots. I just want to mention this now. This spot, and then on the opposite end of the screen, the next screen, there's a spot over here. I'll show that as well. But you shouldn't look at this spot from this side. When you go to stage 9, you can dip down here to check the spot as well, and there's a mine detector there as well. So just another thing to note. And then over here is that spot I was just talking about. This corner is also a pillar spot. So keep in mind that you don't necessarily need to look at these spots. You could just bank on the spots being good, or you can do process of elimination later on for what spots are left. So we go into this room, and you want to hold down right during the load transition. This is going to wake the guard, and if all goes well, he will run by like that. He'll just walk by and not notice you. But he can look around like that and ruin your day. If that happens, all that changes is that you're going to have to knock this guard out. And then you got to blow up that you got to blow up the generator to get through the puddle. You could also wait, but I wouldn't recommend that. Just take the time loss. It's okay. If he's going to look around, he's going to look around. It's no big deal. So we're going to blow up this generator, and the reason being that we don't want to crawl through the vents again. That's really, really slow. So you can either throw it laterally like that or diagonally like that. It's a little bit safer to do it laterally just so you don't miss the throw. So if you're new, just do that. Pick up the C4. And right here is another pillar spot. This is really common in my experience and from limited testing of the RNG. This spot is very common, so be aware of that. We didn't get it this time, which means that all of our spots are up on the first floor, which is pretty cool. Well, we'll see in a moment. I already know the RNG of this this save state. So we damage boost through this puddle. You can't do that on the next stage, but you can do it here. And when you get onto this screen, you should immediately pay attention to this spot right here to see if this is an exposed pillar spot or not, because that can be a spot, okay? And if you didn't blow up the generator, you're gonna have to knock this guard out, unless you get lucky and he looks around. So this is why it's arguable that the other strat is better, blowing up that generator, because otherwise you have to knock this guard out. If you blew up the generator, you could just run through the puddle and just run straight for the door. Just be aware that it doesn't really matter in the sense of the time, because you have to wait out the evasion anyways to get on the elevator. But as you can see, I want to turn as soon as possible. And there I got really lucky because I was like right below it. But don't take too many chances here, because I guess you can do that as well. I don't know if I'd necessarily recommend that, but I guess the option's there to completely bait this guy like that. Yep. All right, cool. New route. So you could either knock him out or run by him. Just be very careful on your position either way. And then run through. Press the elevator button. If the evasion is still lasting a bit, you can run back and forth to wait it out a little bit, because otherwise guards can start streaming into this room and make it really annoying to get back up on the elevator. So we press the elevator button, check over here, because this right here is also a pillar spot. It's the opposite end of that pillar we just looked at. That's any basement spot is bad, but that's a pretty acceptable basement spot since it's literally right next to the elevator. Okay, so I'm going to show you why we do the Nikita skip very briefly if you're not very familiar with this game. If you try to actually go pick up the Nikita, you have to go through this long, arduous maze while crawling, and it takes a really long time, and you have to go through vents, and it's just a big pain in the butt. No one likes it. For good reason. It's a big waste of time. Takes several minutes to go through all that junk. Instead, we're going to go to the first floor, right after we pick up the card level 4 from the basement. And I'm going to have my grenades out. And right here, we're going to get a cutscene with Chris and Snake talking. So here's how this works. You're going to be in a pixel perfect position, a triple P, right by this electrified floor. The thing about this floor is that not all of it's electrified. Only the start of it is electrified. This part actually isn't, for whatever reason. It's a good thing though, because we can skip picking up the Nikita and not waste a bunch of time by positioning ourselves as close as possible to the damage source, damage boosting ourselves, and then a guard's going to come smack us, and we'll abuse the iframes to get through this part of the game without using the Nikita. Now, to get into this position as a beginner, I would definitely recommend, and really for most people, I mean, just trying to run at this position is really hard because you need to be as close. This is the proper position, as you can see from the overlapping shadow with the light green part on the floor. This is the proper position, but just running into this position is kind of hard. I mean, you can do it, but it's best to confirm on the wall. It's easier to see on the wall because when you go on the wall, if you see that gap between the tile and Snake's head, you're in the proper position. This is not the proper position. This is the proper position. This is not the proper position. This is the proper position. See, if I go further down anymore, I'm going to get hurt. See, the shadows overlapping. Not the proper position. Not the proper position. See, the shadow is not overlapping. There you go. I'm reiterating this and repeating this just so it's really clear, because there is a visual cue and it's easy to see, but you have to pay attention to the correct elements. So get off the wall, throw a grenade at the wall, and wait. This schmuck is going to help us out. He's going to smack us, and then once we stand up, hold down. Okay, once he smacks us and we stand up, hold down. Down. There you go. We just skipped past the electrified floor, and we're going to save several minutes. Now, there is another setup, the original setup by LCC, that just involves more randomness. I would not recommend using that strat. You could also use a stun grenade to lure the guy over, but this is the most consistent way to do this because it's all based on your positioning, but you do have to take some damage to set it up this way. So at this point, you probably should equip a ration if you haven't already, and equip your C4. Stick to the bottom of this wall, and right here is a developer-intended shortcut. We can lay a bomb right here, and this is going to blow up a blow up the wall so we can just slip through, which is really nice. We don't have to crawl through a vent. And then come up here, and you're going to hold the B button to lure the guards from above over here. That's so they're in position so you can boost through this floor. So they're going to notice me. I want these suckers to shoot me so I can use iframes to get through. And now I'm going to throw a stun just so they're not in my way. They can't smack you and waste your time. Run up here, pick up the grenades, and then you'll go into the boss room. But before we get to the boss, let's do a little looking around in this room. Again, plant at the corner, run up there. So this is a spot right here, as you can see, the exposed pillar. So this is a spot. This is also a spot. This pillar actually has 4 positions. So this is also a spot, and this is also a spot. So 4 potential positions on this pillar, and we got one of them. It's a good pillar to get. That over there is one of the worst spots in the game. Let me see if I can pause it while looking to the side. Okay, so this is the vent spot. You're going to waste like over a minute if you have to go over here. There's also a spot on the opposite end of this wall. There's another room. We'll go into it on the next stage tutorial. But you don't want any spots spawning on this pillar. Not on this side or the other side. It's a big waste of time because you're going to have to crawl through vents. This is the vent spot. It is the worst spot to get. Cross your fingers that you don't get it. When I go for PB attempts, I actually don't look at the spot because it's a waste of time to look at spots if you don't want them, right? We're looking to get good RNG, not bad RNG. However, if you're just, starting out, just check the spot when you get the chance, either on this stage or the next, preferably this one since you're already here. So yeah. Go against the wall and look up. This will bait the guard over. And like I said, make sure to have a ration equipped. As you can see, guards can be kind of dumb. That's why you want to not mess around like I did. There we go. Now they're all lured over. Get shot. And now I'm going to pull out my stuns. As you can see, these guys are really mean. They could keep on smacking you around since you're kind of surrounded. Pick up these grenades. And before you enter this room, equip either your 5.7 if you have it, or your R5 Galil. Very important you equip before you enter the room, or else you might mess up your movement because you're interrupting it with the menu. So equip beforehand. So this is Pyro Bison. The Fury before the Fury was a thing. This fight is easily exploitable. We used to throw grenades at this guy, but grenades are so valuable that doing so is not a good idea. He wants to tell us how every human burns differently, but his AI is flaming stupid. Very, very bad. I will show what we're going to do, and then I'll explain it afterwards. We'll break it down. Oh, that was a little bit off, actually. Oops. I'm a great teacher. There we go. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether you use grenades or bullets, they all do the same damage. And the way this strat works is I'm going to run up to this rectangular box, then turn upright to shoot Pyro Bison off screen. He's always going to move the same way at the start, which makes this a lot easier for us. And then I will get in position to time my shots out between his iframes. Now, when he recovers, and I will show this in a moment. Okay, so his animation plays out, in a very specific way when he's recovering. It starts with his hand being close at his flamethrower, and then his elbow goes sharp, and then he kind of readjusts his elbow a bit. Then his elbow goes sharp again, and then his arm goes back to the flamethrower. And then he starts attacking right after his model like gets stretched a little bit. You see that? Like he kind of moves, and then he starts attacking. So I pay attention to that sharp elbow and his arm getting close again to the flamethrower, and then I time my shots out that way. Now, the only challenging aspect of this strategy, or the big challenging aspect of this strategy, is the timing, where you could accidentally hit the wrong part of him. So you don't want to hit his pack, and you don't want to hit the front of his flamethrower, because those will deflect the bullets. But with this setup, we don't really need to worry about that. He's so dumb because he will counterattack if you're close enough. So I'm close enough, he just counterattacks, but he doesn't usually turn. If he does turn, just run to the opposite side of him and rinse repeat, because, again, he's very unlikely to turn to attack you. He just kind of attacks without thinking about it. Shoot. Shoot. See, it's easy to miss the shot as well, shoot a little bit too early, but you want to shoot as his iframes wear off, not only to maximize time, but just so you don't mess up the shot by hitting a part of him that deflects the bullet. I really recommend learning this approach over grenades because you have the Galil ammo to spare as long as you didn't waste a bunch during Marionette Owl. And doing this saves us 12 grenades, which is very useful for endgame. So as you can see, he turned. Now I'm just gonna do it up here. Now, oddly enough, hitting the middle of his pack does not deflect. It's like the corners of his like napalm pack that actually deflect. So yeah, just pay attention to his animation. That's how I time it out. You could also just count it in your head, but why not use the visual cue is my question. Visual cues are useful. And as you can see, hey, there's a pillar spot. This is a pillar spot, and this is a pillar spot. That's the added benefit of doing this strat, is we get an easy view of the pillars to see if one of these are exposed. And indeed, this one is exposed. That's Pyrobison in a nutshell. If you need further visual information about this fight, just look below on the wiki page and you'll see how his iframes work and the frames you want to look for. Okay, so let's add it all up and do a run of this stage. Run at the door. Thankfully, you don't need to do this in an individual level run, but you really shouldn't do ILs at this stage because there's no known way to do Nikita skip. So this is one of the worst stages to practice on ILs, unfortunately. Unless you're doing glitchless. But more power to you, I suppose. So check the pillar spot. Wait at the door. Do your menus. Which mean I need to equip the card, not the rations. There we go. Go through this door. Let these guys chat for a bit. Then run through the puddle. If you want to do this strat, you can. Run to the right side of that line. Pick up the ration. Start turning immediately to up left. Get past the corner, go down left. Long auto scroller, blah, 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 blah. Knock him out since he's looking around being a meanhead. Go through this door, hold down right. break the generator. Check your spots. Damage boost. Now I can just hold upright. Check the spot. Wait. Equip your ration in preparation. And now Chris and Snake are going to have a bit of a talk about stuff. Now get in position for the Nikita skip. Careful not to run into the floor, man. I'm in position because I see my shadow overlapping. Hold down once you get smacked and stand up. Run on through. Don't forget, you need to pull out your C4. Sometimes that guy smacks you like a mean head. Blow up the wall. Head on through. Lure the guards with a camera shift. Sometimes this guard shows up on the bottom. He's kind of a nuisance, potentially. I'm going to pull out my stun grenades so I don't get smacked around. Pick up these grenades. Head on through. But not before swapping to your gun. Don't forget, the start of this fight is the hardest part. It's just about getting the setup and then maintaining the rhythm. Run to the rectangle. If you miss the shot like I did, it's okay. Just run up. But if he starts turning, if he's rotating like that, just do the setup somewhere else, like above him. So it's not foolproof. I mean, if you mess up the movement a little bit or shoot a little bit too early, a little bit too late, you could mess up, but don't worry about it. As long as you have some extra bullets, you're fine. 319, that's a very good time. Granted, I was rewinding a little bit just to show some stuff off. And if you run out of ammo, it's okay. Just finish him with a grenade. Throw a grenade at the sucker. He's done. But you'd rather use up your Galil ammo, not any of your grenades in that fight. Okay, that's stage 8, everyone. I will see you next time for stage 9, which is a pretty random stage, so it's going to be a bit weird to tutorialize, to teach, but I will try my best. I'll see you then.